Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to Outsiders. Now today we're going to be looking at an advanced video in the series. It's a series of linked chain videos. If you haven't seen them, they are labelled AVs, AV1 through to where we are today, AV7. And today is about adventure design. Now obviously up to this point we've literally created, if you will, the shell of the bones of what I'm trying to get at, and now we have to start filling in the pieces, and this I think is where it starts to get more interesting. But this piece is a little bit of a bridging piece and is important into the next step to what's to come. Now adventure design, this particular series of videos may take 3 or 4 to complete, so very much like the last bit, it's probably going to be linked, so this will be number 7 and that'll be 7.1 and so on. But they're all relevant and you need to see them in a chain and think about them individually and how you feel it might or might not impact on you. What would be great is, as the series continues, that we get some buy-in from some of the more experienced GMs out there or others who would like to contribute towards this with the videos of their own, what they think of it, whether it's good or bad. I'm really curious to see your thoughts around this video series, so it'd be great to have them. And you know, if you're doing these things, as I said right back at the beginning, kudos to you. So adventure design. The first thing is, a good adventure has a structure to it, and that's a process by which scenes and sequences are ordered for maximum effect. If you like, structure will quickly establish the following goals. Really, it quickly establishes these success parts, if you want. It will quickly establish the action. It steadily builds in excitement towards a climax. The climax is more exciting than the rest of the parts, but ultimately the climax resolves the plot hook, hence the previous video. It presents information necessary to understand the story in digestible chunks, which is critical for most players, and that's an audience thing. You have to judge that by taste. And a good structure it varies its rhythm and its mood. The rhythm of the story, you know, the highs, the lows, and the way the mood takes it. But what you're doing is slowly building that up to the end, that final piece, to leave them wanting more. Even though it might end, they're still excited and looking forward to the next bit, which is often the best way. Now you could say, as you think about structure, and particularly about adventure design, that it's pretty obvious really that role-playing adventures are actually incredibly close cousins, if you will, to novels and movies. A friend of mine once said very well that, and I asked him, I said, you know, what is it about the games that you seem to enjoy? What is it? Could you sum up the game for me? What I'm doing? Is there some way of doing it? And he did it really beautifully. And he said, and I've shared this with some of you before, for him, a role-playing game done well is the best film you've ever seen and the best book you've ever read rolled into one. And that resonated with me because it really makes sense when you think about adventure design and structuring the adventures. It really makes sense. There is a hotly contested point to this though. To what degree do those mediums, this is novels and movies, apply to role-playing games, and how is a huge matter of hot debate, particularly amongst writers and games designers, because if you write a story that is you know, really detailed, I mean, you know, you really think about the whole story beginning to end, plot it all out and all that stuff, you will always get negative feedback from some of the audience because they will say it's too linear. Or if you make it sort of an open sandbox and sort of leave a lot of the blanks to be filled in by the GM, you'll get things like, probably comments like, what's the right word? It was sort of a messy read, or it was a jumbled. It was an uncoordinated read. It didn't make any sense. So you can't win. It's an absolute loss. It doesn't matter what you do as a writer or a games designer. You will find that parody that sits in there, which is a problem. You know, this is what you see if you go on the forum boards. You write a detailed adventure and you put it up and you wait for the feedback, and you'll see what I mean makes so much sense. You know. So basically, what does that say? It just basically tells you that structure, effectively, is a matter of taste. And that's the point, because player types vary to the degree by which structure matters to them. That's why it's so relevant, and that's why it's so important that you think about not only the stuff that you put out, but equally the stuff that you buy. Is it relevant for your group? What changes would I have to make for my people around that table to make this the biggest success? Remember I said to you, because we all come to the table, all of us come to your table for different reasons, you have to think that it's literally the sum of all the parts is greater than the whole. No matter what the story is that I write, no matter how great, no matter how wonderful I think it is, if I don't get those bits right around the table, I can't possibly elevate my story to the level where people go, God, that was amazing. That's the point. It's very interesting how those interconnections work, I think. So, let's think about some of the types, and I won't labour this point, but let's think about a couple of the types and explain why to them structure matters. So let's talk about tacticians as an example. It's a collective group of people. It's particularly applicable right now because of the types of crunchy type games that are out there on the marketplace. There will be a lot of tacticians out there. Do they want a climax, a tactician? Not a tactician, no, because to them the climax is a disaster because they've reached the goal that you set. That's a disaster. They haven't been able to outthink it. They haven't been able to change it. They haven't been able to make it something else. So straight away there's a chunk of the audience that you think, oh my God, I didn't know. Really? Yeah, they want an anti-climax. They don't want a climax. But that's one type. If we take power gamers, they don't really mind about the structure so much as long as there's lots of stuff in there for them. And I don't mean lots of stuff as in Monty Hall, loads of stuff, but stuff that's relevant to the power gamer to thrive off. He'll enjoy pretty much what you put out there. And obviously for him, the best way to get the maximum effect for climax is to make sure that the best stuff is at the very end. This is just very straightforward and very obvious, really. If we take the other spectrum, just to give you the flip side of this argument, because I think, again, it's fairly relevant. Storytellers, it's their reason for living. It's their reason for living. Absolutely. So you're going to quickly see that within this, and I've had to lay these foundations down because they're very, very important in what's going to follow in this adventure design part. Because obviously I've talked to you before about storyboarding, and I'm about to move on to the various styles of building stories, and ultimately really it helps design campaigns. That's the point. But some stuff in there that I'm convinced a lot of people may not have seen. And I don't mean that patronising. I know a lot of you people out there are fantastic DMs, and I'm sure a lot of you may well have seen some of this stuff. But there will be quite a majority, there will be quite a few, let's put it that way, that will find this incredibly beneficial. And maybe, who knows, maybe I might surprise the audience because I think I've got one or two things that are really new. So there's an interesting thing. We'll see. We'll see what people make of it. Maybe you do it anyway. Who knows? So for now, we'll bring this bit to a close. What I will do on the next video of the AV series, I will show you a little chart regarding your player types. And again, I score the player types specifically on this point. Because when you're running an adventure and you're thinking about the structure of the story, it's important to have a base to work off. How relevant is that for your group around that table? Is structure important? Is an open sandbox style more applicable to them? And that's really useful because this question can continually change. You know, when you start a campaign off and you've got characters that are rolled up and you thought all the way along about your player types, and then over the course of the campaign a couple of people leave and new guys come in, the whole ethos of the game can change. If you don't change with it, you will continue to lose part of your audience. That's just a natural progression for it, and that's a reality check. And that's something that, you know, it's horrible, isn't it, when you lose part of the audience in that way. But you can do some things to help it. Some are impossible to stop. But by getting to grips with your players makes it more exciting. At the very least, their word of mouth about how great your games are will be immeasurable. And that's why I share this advice. So this has been adventure design. This bit's about structure. Next time we come back, we're going to be looking at some of the really, really interesting stuff. The things I think that you've been waiting for, I hope. Anyway, I've been Sean Connors. This has been Outsiders. Till the next time, happy gaming, take care of yourselves, and have a great weekend. I'll try to throw some more videos out if I can, and we'll see where we go. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.